The door opened. Dawei gasped as the towering figure of Solonly stood over him. You may be the most successful gacha CEO, but tonight I am the man in charge. He began to peel the shirt off his body, revealing the shredded torso of a true Cantonese, gleaming in the scented candlelit of the room. Oh, mein Papa! Dawei whispered. The lust he had held deep within him now erupted like the abyss over Canria. That was an extract from the Solon Lee and Dawei gay love fanfic. That exists, and don't you wish it didn't? Was that important information to know? Yes, don't interrupt. Good evening, my name is Basiliscus, historian, engineer, corporate slave, father of a cat, man, presumably, and supreme leader of the world inside your head. You watch this video at your own risk. There is a lot to explain, so I hope you are sitting comfortably in your bed, sofa, chair, or beanbag if that is your preference. You are traveling with me on an adventure to a different dimension, through a door that leads to a world of online drama where such petty meaningless things like maturity and decency had typically held little sway over the denizens who dwell down here. From here on in, we dive into the quagmire of the tribalism, an area of gacha online discourse so plagued with Kurobots and Hoyoshills of such devotedly high caliber, many of them did not even realize they are one. By opening yourself to the knowledge held in this video, you may inadvertently find yourself becoming the target of their prepubescent aggression. I warn you, my dear sir, madam, or neither, from here on in, there is no turning back. You are about to enter the Unemployed Zone. Is anyone still here? Good. Before we start, let me make something very clear. I do not identify with the tribalism that's been plaguing the gacha community. I find the whole Kurobots vs Hoyoshills discourse absolutely ridiculous. Yes, I play Punishing Grey Raven daily. Yes, I occasionally log into Wuthering Waves when I remember it exists, and in the past I've played games from Hoyoverse, including Genshin Impact, until I discovered Soulsborne games in 2021 and never looked back. We are currently living in an age of extreme tribalism. Social media, especially after the pandemic, has made people more dependent on online spaces, and as a result, fandoms have become more polarized than ever. And this isn't just a gacha problem. Just look at the very mature and intellectual debates between shonen anime fans online. To understand this situation properly, we need a little bit of context. We are currently living in what I'd like to call the post-Fate Grand Order era, when it comes to mobile gachas. For years, FGO dominated the anime gacha space, but over time that dominance faded and the market shifted heavily towards Chinese and Korean developers. Now, to be fair, small-scale arguments between early Hoyoshills and Kurobots already existed for quite some years, for example between Honkai Impact third players and PGR players in the early days, but those were mostly contained to niche places like CN forums and 4chan. Nothing compared to what we have today. Where did the problem actually start? The pandemic was the perfect breeding ground for the things that will come in the gacha community. Yes, mobile gachas existed since the 2010s, but were mostly a niche medium dominated by Japan. Those were much more primal days in the medium, stuff like pity systems, character selectors, gacha economy were not concepts that existed back then. Your only light at the end of the tunnel as a non-spender was the anniversary banner. You only had to play and farm as much currency as possible to roll on banners that will not guarantee you anything. It was gambling at its most basic form. Usually people who spent were the ones that were the most dedicated, because most of us sane people realized that there was no point in spending for banners that will not even have a guarantee dropping what we needed. In this era, the biggest titans in the industry were FGO and Dragon Ball Legends and Dragon Ball Dokkan Battle, games which had Success thanks to the franchises they were attached to. People weren't playing for gameplay, they were playing for characters they already loved. In the mid-2010s, China also tried to throw its hat into the ring, and Chinese developers began working on their own games to compete in the market. The first breakthrough being Arknights, which in less than a year overthrew FGO in mainland China, and even abroad it started to have a market. This marked the beginning of the shift from games tied to already existing anime IPs to original gacha franchises, and this momentum led to the era we are in today. Genshin Impact was the second success of China, and it quickly overthrew FGO in terms of revenue, sparking the era of cross-platform and open-world gachas. Now, Genshin was a phenomenon tied exclusively to the pandemic. In 2020, people were stuck in their houses, so in order to make up for time that was usually allocated for going outside, gaming, streaming, and social media became the places where people will spend most of their time. Due to the rising interest in anime culture, due to the pandemic and the advent of new-gen anime, people were more and more interested in weeb culture, and Genshin was the perfect game. An anime 3D gacha open world, and the best part was that you did not have to pay $60 or $70 to play it, compared to the alternatives that were mostly under the umbrella of Bandai Namco. Now we get to one of the biggest contributors to this entire situation, the term Genshin Killer. This was a label pushed mostly by gaming journalists to describe upcoming gacha games, usually open world ones, that were seen as direct competition to Genshin Impact. In 2022, Tower of Fantasy released. It was essentially one of the first serious attempts from a Chinese studio to create a large-scale open-world gacha that could rival Genshin, hyping it up as the game that will surpass it. Realistically, that was never going to happen. Genshin was already too big. When Tower of Fantasy launched and didn't meet the expectations, the reaction was immediate. Sarcasm, mockery, endless jokes, like the Genshin killer that killed itself. And just like that, the term became more of a meme. Despite the failure, players still wanted competition, because in any industry, competition is healthy. Without it, companies become complacent. And in the case of Genshin Impact, many players genuinely believed that strong competitors would push Hoyoverse to improve the game further. Then came Wuthering Waves. After the success of Punishing Grey Raven, there were already rumors that Kuro Games was working on a new project. When Wuthering Waves was officially revealed, there was already hype. And once again, the same pattern repeated. Journalists, content creators, parts of the gacha community all immediately jumped to label it the next Genshin killer. Then came the launch issues. For a moment, it looked like a repeat of the Tower of Fantasy situation, another overhyped Genshin killer about to fail. But this time, things were different. Just like PGR before, Wuthering Waves managed to recover from a bad launch. Unfortunately, by that point, the damage was already done. People had started picking sides. The Wuthering Waves community began shaping itself in direct opposition to the Genshin community. And from there, tribalism exploded. Twitter and Reddit turned into battlegrounds. Arguments became less about games and more about identity. And here's the truth. Most of the conflict doesn't come from the majority of the players. It comes from a small but very loud minority on both sides. People who spend more time arguing online than actually playing the games. And this behavior is made worse by a certain type of content creators. The kind that thrive on drama. The kind that keep the fire burning because outrage gets clicks. But why this behavior? And why me, you, and many others like us are repulsed by such behavior? Well, my dear viewer, in this era of chronically online people, Genshin and WoA are not just games. They are the pioneers of the mobile gaming market. They are showing what the genre can do, and this turned them into an equivalent of a comforting tool. Criticize either Genshin or WoA from either a subjective or objective point of view, and Kurobots and Hoyoshills will throw temper tantrums like a child that had its teddy bear taken from him, have anything remotely negative to say about their favorite slot machine, and they will look at you like you crucified Christ himself, because those people only know that. They thrive on online discourse. They love writing useless Twitter threads on why WoA good, Genshin bad, and vice versa. And how dare you have the audacity to call them out on their behavior? Just like the kid that lost its teddy bear and now has to face the scary monsters under the bed by himself, they are forced to face the fact that their games are not that gold standard of the gaming industry and most likely will not be for the foreseeable future. Me, you dear viewer, and many other people in the gacha community are tired at this point of scrolling through social media trying to find things we actually enjoy about our favorite Chinese slot machines, only to be forced to go through the cesspool that is the tribalism between Kurobots and Hoyoshills, and spending most of the time muting as many of those people as possible only for others to appear in their place. And I will come forward and say that I am not innocent when it comes to tribalistic behavior. Back in the glory days of FGO, in the civil war between FGO and non-FGO players inside the Type Moon community, I took part in toxic behavior towards FGO fans, which to this day I am not proud of. Tribalism kills everyone's enjoyment of a piece of media, and many people outside of the WoA and Genshin community, and even inside of those communities, find it hard to take seriously those acts of childish behavior. At this point, it stopped being about games, it became about people picking a multi-billion-dollar company to defend. And I'm saying this as someone who works in a corporate environment. And many of you watching probably do as well. Let's be honest, corporations are not your friends. Most of them are at best indifferent to you and at worst openly exploitative. Very few have any real redeeming qualities, so seeing people defend a multi-billion-dollar company like it's the Pope is just, let's be honest, very sad. Because at the end of the day, what do you actually gain from it? Internet brownie points? No one from Kuro Games or Hoyoverse is going to show up at your house and reward you for your loyalty, no matter how hard you go with the Kurobotting or Hoyoshilling. And the funniest part? The people you are defending so aggressively, like Solonli and Dawei, are probably on perfectly normal terms with each other. And a lot of the developers working on those games, they are likely just normal people, who might even be friends outside of work. Well, that was pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I am actually glad that more and more people are starting to wake up and see this fandom war for what it is, just a pointless, penis measuring contest that poisons everyone's enjoyment of the medium.